Thank you all for attending today's reparations presentation. You may have seen Becca and I posting about Reparations Now NWA. In short, Reparations Now NWA is an invitation to support Black Christian leadership in Northwest Arkansas, to sponsor a fellow from Northwest Arkansas with the Witness Foundation as an expression of repentance and reparation for the sin of white supremacy. So this picture was taken during the Memphis sanitation strike in 1968. I've included it because it shows the position we hope to take as white people making a case for Black reparations. Martin Luther King Jr. described this position in his book, Where Do We Go From Here? He wrote, "White people must see that the Negro needs not only love, but also justice. It is not enough to say we love Negroes, we have many Negro friends. White people must demand justice for Negroes. Love that does not satisfy justice is no love at all." King also wrote, "White people must be prepared to accept a transformation of their role. Whereas it was once a primary and spokesman role, it must now become a secondary and supportive role." This is the position we hope to take as white people making a case for Black reparations. So let's begin. In this presentation, we will first discuss reparations as understood by Quan and Thompson in their book, Reparations. We will discuss the essence of racism, the essence and effect of white supremacy, the role and ethic of the church, the essence and effect of reparations, and then we will discuss the Witness Foundation Fellowship as an opportunity to practice reparations. So first, what is the essence of racism? We must correctly understand the problem of racism before we try to solve it. If we misunderstand the problem, then we may not make it better and we may make it worse. Quan and Thompson write that the essence of racism in America is best understood as cultural brokenness, and cultural brokenness is best understood as white supremacy. In America, racism is an individual problem that requires repentance and an interpersonal problem that requires reconciliation, and an institutional problem that requires reform, and ultimately a cultural problem, white supremacy, that requires reparations. So I want to pause here to note that white Christians need to change our perspective. We need to understand that reconciliation is important, but insufficient to get us from here to equality. In The Color of Compromise, Tisby writes that most white Christians misunderstand the problem of racism. We understand racism as an individual or interpersonal problem, but not an institutional or cultural problem. Tisby writes that white Christians need to reconsider racial reconciliation, claiming friendships and conversations are important, but insufficient to change the racial status quo. White Christians need to widen our view of the problem of and solution to racism. 2. What is the essence of white supremacy? Quan and Thompson write that the essence of white supremacy is best understood as a belief that white people and culture are normal and superior, used to justify a behavior, the exploitation of Black people. 3. What is the effect of white supremacy? Quan and Thompson write that the effect of white supremacy is best understood as the threefold theft of truth, wealth, and power. Theft of truth is achieved by two forces, romanticization and erasure. By romanticization, we mean that American history is told from white perspectives, and that episodes that honor white people are emphasized. By erasure, we mean that American history is not told from Black perspectives, and that episodes that dishonor white people are de-emphasized. An example of theft of truth is the Black-White Monument Gap. There are almost 2,000 Confederate monuments in America and almost 50 in Arkansas today. While there are many monuments that honor the Confederacy, a society founded on white supremacy and the exploitation of Black people, there are relatively few monuments that honor the Black people who were exploited. There were over 4,000 racial terror lynchings in America and 492 in Arkansas between 1877 and 1950. On average, that's over 40 lynchings in America and over 6 lynchings in Arkansas per year for 73 years. Theft of wealth is achieved by two forces, extraction and obstruction. By extraction, we mean that when Black people have built wealth, it has been taken from them by white supremacist systems. Slavery is the most obvious example. Enslaved Black people not only created wealth that was taken from them by white people, they were wealth of white people. In 1860, enslaved Black people represented the single greatest asset in the American economy, worth more than all other assets combined. By obstruction, we mean that assistance given to white people to build wealth, the Homestead Act and FHA-backed mortgages, for example, has not been given to Black people, and that when Black people have built wealth, it has been met with white violence. The massacres of Black people in Elaine, Arkansas in 1919 and Tulsa, Oklahoma in 1921 are examples. An example of theft of wealth is the Black-white socioeconomic gap. As 2014 data shows, the average Black household has 61% of the income and only 8% of the wealth of the average white household, and Black households are 29% less likely than white households to own a home. Lastly, theft of power is achieved on two fronts, personal and political. By personal, we mean that the personal power of Black people, their agency over their bodies, has been suppressed by white supremacist systems, such as slavery, lynchings, mass incarceration, and unaccountable police shootings. By political, we mean that the political power of Black people, their agency over the body politic, has also been suppressed by white supremacist systems, such as the suppression of the Black vote. An example of theft of power is the Black-white leadership gap. As 2019 data shows, while Black people represent 13% of the US population, they are underrepresented in government. Black people represent 12% of the House of Representatives, 3% of the Senate, and 0% of governors. 4. What is the role of the church? Quan and Thompson write that the American church has been complicit in white supremacy. By complicit, we mean that, while there have been exceptions, as a rule, the white American church has both actively and passively supported an American culture characterized by white supremacy. Tisby alludes to this fact in the title of his book, The Color of Compromise, The Truth About the American Church's Complicity in Racism. 5. What is the ethic of the church? Quan and Thompson write that the first ethic of the church is restitution. The American church is culpable for the threefold theft of white supremacy. Like Zacchaeus in Luke 19, we must return what we have stolen. The second ethic of the church is restoration. Like the Good Samaritan in Luke 10, we are called to restore to wholeness those who have been stolen from. 6. What is the essence of reparations? Quan and Thompson write that the essence of reparations is simply the ethical Christian response to the sin of white supremacy. Said differently, reparations is the fruit that the American church must bear in keeping with repentance for the sin of white supremacy. 7th and finally, what is the effect of reparations? Quan and Thompson write that the effect of reparations is best understood as a threefold repair of truth, wealth, and power. We can begin to repair truth By naming lies and telling the truth, we can begin to repair wealth by enabling Black wealth and sharing white wealth. And we can begin to repair power by enabling and submitting to Black leadership. I want to pause here to note that white Christians need to change our perspective. We need to understand that reparations is not a ministry of mercy, but of justice. Our primary orientation toward Black people, therefore, is not to test them, evaluating the return on our investment, but to trust them, to return what we have unjustly stolen. Now, I'm not suggesting that we stand on the corner of College and Dixon and hand out $100 bills. I am suggesting that we follow and support Black leadership, as King advised, believing that they know what they are doing. So it's in this spirit that we want to support Black Christian leadership in Northwest Arkansas, to sponsor a fellow from Northwest Arkansas with the Witness Foundation. So let's transition to discuss the Witness Foundation. We'll start with a short video from Jamar Tisby, the president of the Witness Foundation.
In light of this being the modern day civil rights movement, what can we do? We can do a lot, but let me narrow it down. At The Witness, we are trying to combine word and deed. The Black Christian Collective has put words to the expansive Black experience. But I'm so thrilled, I'm so excited. That ministry is expanding. We're adding another division called the Witness Foundation. And that is based on a lot of personal experience where as Black Christians, we have these visions, we have these passions, but what we don't have are the resources to make them a reality. And specifically, financial resources. What that translates into is a lack of resources to put our God-given visions into motion. But what we want to do at the Witness Foundation is to fund Black Christian leaders to the tune of $50,000 a year for 2 years of a fellowship program. And I'm so excited that we have a team that's expanding as well. But what we need are resources. And so we're initiating this campaign, our first ever fundraising campaign for such a time as this, modern era of the civil rights movement. I so often get the question, when it comes to racial justice, what do we do? Well, there's a lot we can do, but we're offering you one concrete way to get involved, and that's support Black-led Christian ministries like The Witness. And the only question is, will you be a witness?
Okay. So the mission.
In light of this being the modern day civil rights movement, what can we do? We can do a lot, but let me narrow it down.
Sorry about that. The mission of the Witness Foundation is to identify, train, and fund the next generation of Black Christian leaders. As you saw in the video, the Witness Foundation is led by Jamar Tisby. Tisby, who lives in Helena, Arkansas, is the president of the Witness Incorporated and the Witness Foundation. He is a Christian historian, podcast host, and author of the New York Times bestselling The Color Compromise. The Witness Foundation Fellowship is a 2-year program. Fellows receive $100,000 to further their work, plus training and mentorship. Fellows must be Black Christians who are working in one of 3 areas: spirituality, justice, or awareness. The Witness Foundation has given our community the opportunity to sponsor a fellow. If we can raise $100,000 and recruit a fellow from Northwest Arkansas, then he or she may participate in the program. Lastly, the Church Partnership Program is an opportunity for churches to partner with the Witness Foundation. When a church contributes $25,000 or more to help fund a fellow, the Witness Foundation provides training in the arc of racial justice, awareness of racial injustice, multiracial relationships, and commitment to racial justice, and an invitation to an annual church partner forum. So in conclusion, what am I asking you all to do? Please help us raise $50,000 by February 15th of 2021. Please give and ask your church to give. And please help us recruit a fellow by January 5th of 2021. Thank you.